So two of the most prolific war criminals in the world currently decided to have a little powwow yesterday, a little meeting, a little get together, so that they could praise each other on how great they are and do a little sucking each other off in front of the cameras, in front of the media, a little hand job. And this was pretty disgusting. So I got a lot to say about this, but before I get into it, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, do all of that stuff, little 2-second homework that I ask of you. It's totally free, and it's the only way that we grow the channel. All right, let's get into this. So, like I said, for people who don't know the background on Benjamin Netanyahu, obviously most people know all the horrible shit that Trump has done. But Benjamin Netanyahu is a regular kind of criminal and a war criminal. So in terms of being a war criminal, everything that he's done in Gaza, he's destroyed almost all of the buildings there. The place is totally uninhabitable. They've cut off food, water, electricity. They bomb civilian infrastructure, all of this stuff. They're shooting kids in the leg, in the heart, in the head. He's a horrible, horrible war criminal. He needs to be in prison. He's also brought up on other criminal charges besides what the ICC has issued a warrant for. And that was bribery charges, fraud charges. Apparently he bribed the media to the tune of $500 million so that they would only do positive coverage of him. He's a piece of shit. And birds of a feather flock together. So Trump, war criminal, bombing people off the coast of Venezuela right now. He's also bombed Iran. He's bombed Somalia. He's bombed Syria. He's bombed Yemen. And that's just in this term. Okay? That's just in this term. And that doesn't include what he's done to people domestically, where he's rounding up innocent people and throwing them in concentration camps without any kind of due process or anything like that. Aside from all of his other crimes, financial crimes, all of that stuff, trying to steal the election. The reason I give you all the background on this is because these guys need each other, right? They're similar pieces of shit, and they need somebody to tell them that they're great. So here we have Benjamin Netanyahu giving Trump basically a participation trophy because that's all he really cares about. As I covered in that video about corruption and how freaking insane it is, a lot of people just give Trump little participation prizes or little gifts just to make him feel good. Here, check this out. This is embarrassing.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. Is going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people.
So Trump is getting the Israel Prize, whatever the fuck that is, which has never been given to anybody that's not from Israel. And what does that even mean? But we know that this is the way to Trump's heart, is to recognize how great he is and give him prizes and give him recognition. I mean, do you remember how desperate he was to win the Nobel Peace Prize? As he's currently frickin' bombing people in Venezuela, he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He's talked about himself being a war president, and at the same time, he's like, oh, I stopped 8 wars. And it's total fucking horseshit. But this is dangerous because this is how easy it is to manipulate the president of the most powerful military on earth. And the reason that Netanyahu is doing this, and the reason that Netanyahu is glazing him and heaping praise on Trump, is because Trump has given tons and tons and tons of money and weapons to Israel. Meanwhile, Trump, I don't know if he knows or if he doesn't know or if he just doesn't care, but the so-called peace agreement that he brokered back in October, it's total horseshit, right? So, like, they did a ceasefire, a peace agreement, and since October, Israel's killed over 400 people. They've wounded over 1,000 people, and that's just in the last couple of months. This is patronizing. Like, I don't understand how anybody gets off on this besides Trump, who's a malignant narcissist. Like, this is infantilizing. This is embarrassing that, like, he's getting a participation trophy from Benjamin Netanyahu for giving him money and weapons to commit a genocide, and he's happy about that. But it gets worse, as usual, when, two shitheads like this meet and jerk each other off for however many hours straight. Trump is talking about how obviously he thinks that Israel has lived up to the plan or whatever. And then he also quips about possibly bombing Iran again. Here, check this out. This is ridiculous.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel.
They've lived up to the plan, and other people haven't. Are you kidding me? Every time, and there have been so many of these, every time they've done a ceasefire, a supposed ceasefire, the ceasefire deal is that the other side stops, the other side ceases, and Israel continues to fire. And I kid you not, I think that Netanyahu and the IDF have killed more children than any other person. I mean, like, it's not even close. It's really not even close. Deliberately killed people. And let's not forget that, like, when he's talking about this too, he goes off topic where he starts talking about Iran again, because obviously Iran and Israel are enemies as well. He says something about how, like, well, we don't want to have to waste fuel on sending a B-2 bomber. He's literally sort of like softball pitching the idea of bombing Iran again. This guy, in a press conference, is talking about, like, well, we don't want to have to do it, but we already bombed him once and we may have to do it again. Iran is a sovereign country. Iran is allowed to increase their military based on the threats that they perceive, right? Like, imagine Iran being the superpower and telling the United States, hey, look, you can't develop nuclear weapons, or you can't do this, or you can't do, like, we would say, fuck you, right? But because it's the United States, we get to do that. And also, on this note, let's not forget, Trump is the one who axed the Iran nuclear agreement, which is probably one of the better things that Obama did. And Trump was like, that's a horrible deal. It's a terrible deal. Even though we knew from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, that Iran was abiding to the deal every time they checked in on them. It's like, hey, look, they're not enriching past the point of energy use, whatever. Trump goes, it's a horrible deal. It's a terrible deal. He axes it and then starts warmongering with Iran. And would you look at that? Hey, look, they're trying to develop nukes. I wonder why. So, like, you axed the deal that was keeping them from doing that. And then he has the audacity to come in and be like, well, we're going to have to come in and bomb them and take them out. so fucking crazy. This person should not be in charge of the most powerful military in the entire world. And I want to just get to the clip that that really set me off, because they're talking about how, like, Trump is the greatest person that's ever happened to Israel, and Netanyahu is the greatest prime minister, blah, 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 blah.
You call President Trump the strongest friend for the state of Israel. You work with numerous administrations, numerous presidents. Can you expound on that? What makes President Trump such a strong friend for the state of Israel?
Why don't you go first?
I'll say it again and again and again. We've never had a friend like President Trump in the White House. It's not even close. And I think you can judge that by not merely by the frequency of our meetings, but by the content and the intensity. I think Israel is very blessed to have President Trump leading the United States, and I'll say leading the free world at this time. I think it's not merely Israel's great fortune. I think it's the world's great fortune.
Well, I just want to say that it's very important who the Prime Minister and President of Israel is. We have a great relationship. It was an honor to speak before your leaders. That was a great honor for me. I think it has not happened before, or something they told me. But the relationship's been extraordinary, and Bibi's a strong man. He can be very difficult on occasion, but you need a strong man. If you had a weak man, you wouldn't have Israel right now. Israel would have been, Israel with most other leaders would not exist today.
Like, they act like Biden did not give everything on a silver platter to Benjamin Netanyahu. But at the end of the day, and it always comes back to this, the reason that these two need each other is, one, Netanyahu needs the United States because Israel is a client state, and Israel cannot wage war on Palestinians without the support of the United States military, like without us giving them weapons and giving them money. And we give billions of dollars every single year to Israel. So obviously Benjamin Netanyahu is constantly glazing whoever is the president. But the other thing is, there's so many countries all over the world that recognize Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, and they would arrest him if he ever set foot on their soil or even in their airspace, right? Because the ICC has an arrest out. They have a warrant out for his arrest, excuse me. The International Criminal Court has a warrant out for his arrest. And the only country that really, like, doesn't, is bucking that trend with the whole rest of the world is the United States. So Netanyahu is welcome to come to the United States because we give them tons of money and weapons and all that shit. And the reason that that Trump has to constantly glaze Netanyahu is, like I said from before, there's very, very, very solid evidence that Epstein was Mossad, which is Israeli intelligence, which means that there's a very, very, very high probability that Israel has access to a lot of the files, the Epstein files. They have the information, they have the dirt on Trump. And so Trump has to really play nice with him to make sure that none of that gets out. So again, these guys need each other because they're both criminals and they both have the ability to ruin the other person, basically. I just can't wait. I cannot wait for a time in history where we actually see these people brought to justice. Because Netanyahu, for what it's worth, is the Hitler of our time. And Trump is as well. Like, Trump is the Hitler of our time. They both are. Trump is sending out ICE, his Gestapo thugs, rounding up innocent people, throwing them in concentration camps. Bibi Netanyahu is sending out the IDF. This is the same guy, Trump, who glazes Netanyahu. This is the same guy who fucking invited people like Kanye West over. And Kanye West was like, I love Hitler. He said it on camera.
That's right. You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
He invited Nick Fuentes, who is an avowed Nazi. Like, he is like a self-described, like, he loves Hitler as well. He hates Jews. He's a self-described anti-Semite. So the guy who has fucking literal anti-Semites over to his house for dinner, the guy who runs the party where most of the anti-Semitism in this country is born out of and stems from, okay? Like, we had fucking Nazi flags. People were carrying around Nazi flags in the January 6th riots in the Capitol. We had, at the very beginning of Trump's first term, the Charlottesville people that were parading around saying the Jews will not replace us. These people support Trump, and Netanyahu sits there and tells it, well, he's the greatest president for Israel ever. How do you square that? How do you make sense of that? And literally the only explanation is that these are two deeply corrupt, horrible fucking war criminals and horrible people in general who need each other in order to survive politically. And that's the simplest explanation. I can't wait for them to both be in prison. Anyway, if you made it this far, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.